Well, hello guys. This is my second time filming this video, so she's sleeping. She is not like napped too much today, so I got her to sleep. She's so cute. But we are now 2 months postpartum, and I'm finally like, okay, there's still some really hard days, but it is definitely starting to get a little bit easier. So yeah. But yeah, I figured I would just jump on here and talk about my labor and delivery experience and first few weeks of postpartum experience. Just trying to think where to begin. I guess let's start with the day before she was born. So on Friday, June 21st, I went to my 38-week pregnancy appointment, and they did a cervical check and all that stuff. They did an ultrasound just to kind of get sizing for her, and they told me she actually was measuring small, which I was shocked because the entire pregnancy they're telling me she was measuring big, so that was shocking. And when they did the exam, I was not dilated at all, and myself and the doctors thought, especially since it was my first pregnancy, that I was definitely going to make it to like 40 weeks and potentially 41 weeks. They even scheduled an induction date for me like in July when I was 41 weeks. So we were, I was kind of prepared to be pregnant for another like 2, maybe 3 weeks, but at least 2 more weeks. And anyway, so after my appointment that day, I went to the pool with my mom. Now leading up to that week, I will say that week specifically, I did feel a little different. Like I was always feeling pressure down there, but I definitely felt a lot more pressure. And I just had a harder time getting around, and I was more out of breath. So I definitely was feeling a little different that week, but I just thought, I'm just getting bigger. But anyway, so after the pool, my friend asked me to dog sit her dogs for her and let them out at night. So I did, and right before I let her dogs out, I lost my mucus plug at 8:30 at night, and I called labor and delivery, and they were like, it could still be a week until you go into labor. Like it doesn't mean you're gonna have your baby like right now. It's just one of those signs leading up to labor. So I thought, okay, so I could have her in a few days, or I could have her tomorrow, or it could be a week, I don't know. So I went about my business, let her dogs out. I came back home, got ready for the night at 10:30 at night. I lay in bed like I normally do, and as soon as I laid down in the bed, I heard and felt a literally just like that, like literal water balloon, and I just like whoosh, it was like a wave. And so I call for my husband. I'm like, babe, my water broke. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, like come in here, it's still coming out, like I'm still leaking. Like it was like a whirlpool, like it was like in the movies. It was a whole bunch. And so as soon as my water breaks, I call labor and delivery again, and I'm like, hey, it's me again. I was like, my water just broke, and it was a lot. And they were like, are you having contractions? And I was like, no, not yet. And they were like, okay, well, you can come on in once your contractions are about like 5 minutes apart. You should start heading over. And mind you, I call them 2 minutes after my water breaks. I hang up the phone, and as soon as I hang up the phone, immediately contractions start, and they were not 5 minutes apart, they were 2 minutes apart. And I literally could not breathe. Like I expected the whole contraction experience to be something where it was like a progressive thing where they started you could handle them, and then they got worse and worse and worse. It was not like that at all for me. It was immediately extremely painful. Like, extremely painful. I couldn't speak. I didn't want to speak at all. I could barely catch my breath because of how quick the contractions were coming. I literally was crawling on the floor in my bedroom trying to put the last minute things in my bag. And I just remember being on the floor, like, yelling at my husband. I was like, we're never gonna make it to the hospital. Like, this is hopeless. Like, I'm in so much pain. And I literally thought I was gonna have her at the house. And then when we got into the car, in the car about 15 minutes after my water broke, and they start to come 30 seconds faster. So at this point, the contractions were every minute and a half. And oh my gosh, I mean, I literally was like, because I didn't know how dilated I was at this point. I thought I was maybe at 4 or 5 centimeters, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how I could handle getting more dilated if it's this painful now. So we get to the hospital, and this nurse comes with a wheelchair from labor and delivery, and she's carting me upstairs to the unit, and I'm just like shouting down the hall, help me, I'm in so much pain. And I kept apologizing to her, and I was like, I'm so sorry for shouting. And she's like, honey, you can shout all you want. Like, this is you are allowed to shout. And so, anyways, we get into the triage room, and the midwife comes in. She's like, what happened? I literally just talked to you and you were fine. And I was like, I don't know, but all I know is I'm in so much pain. And so they have me change out of my clothes into a gown, and they take off my underwear, and this one nurse looks and she tells the midwife, she's like, she has underwear full of blood clots. And so at this point, that was a little scary because I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was anemic the entire pregnancy, so I just from losing that blood, I already was feeling really like lightheaded. Like, I just did not feel good at all. So she was like, I know you're having contractions like every minute right now, and I know you don't want me to do a cervical check, but I have to right now to see where we're at. So she does it, and it was definitely painful because she did it right when I was having a contraction. And she was like, all right, we need to get you into a room immediately. You are already at 9 centimeters. And I was like, what? Literally 30 minutes ago, I was walking around like nothing, like my water hadn't broke. So I literally went from 0 to 9 in 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, no wonder I'm in so much pain. I'm almost fully dilated. And so basically did that unmedicated. So anyways, they finally put me in a room, and I stayed at 9 centimeters for about 2 hours, and I had no medication, no pain medication. I just had to deal with it. And people say you forget the pain of labor. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I will never forget it. So anyways, I'm like, please, is there something you guys can get me for pain? Like, I'm in so much pain, like, and I was like, can I please get the epidural? And I know that typically they don't like to give you the epidural after 6 centimeters or something like that, but the midwife was like, I can try to talk to the anesthesiologist to see what she can do, but she's like, I cannot promise you that she's gonna do it. She's like, you may have to have this baby with nothing. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, yep, we're gonna get through it if you have to. So I sat there for about 2 hours just dealing with the pain, and I mean, nothing was helping. I couldn't catch my breath. Like, I felt like I was gonna pass out. I mean, it really felt like I was doing this marathon. So anyways, finally the anesthesiologist comes in, and I still hadn't reached 10 centimeters yet. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna do this for you, but you literally cannot move. Like, she was like, your contractions are coming very frequently, and if you have one while I do this, I'm sorry, but you can't move. So I'm thinking, like, every time I had a contraction, I twist and turned my body. So anyways, she did it. And as soon as she did it, of course, I had this intense contraction. So I just like held on to the midwife and I just like let out a big like grunt since I couldn't move. And the epidural didn't like really hurt. There was one moment where she definitely, I think, hit a nerve and it sent like this ting, it was like this jolt. But other than that, it wasn't that bad, especially compared to the labor pain. I was like, give me whatever you got. And I will say, did not enjoy them trying to put an IV in my hand. That was also really hard. But anyway, so 10 minutes after she does it, the epidural kicks in and I finally start to feel some relief. And they came in and also gave me a shot because my contractions were coming every 45 seconds. And they were like, that it's too much on you and it's too much on the baby, so we need to slow these down. So they gave me a shot to slow the contractions down. And then I finally reached 10 centimeters and they had me pushing for 4 hours at 10 centimeters. And they would give me like, I would say, after a couple really good pushes, they would let me work through a couple contractions and then we do it again. So they would let me breathe for like 3 to 5 minutes between pushes. But we did that for literally 4 hours. And you could see her hair and everything, but she just was not coming through. Like she just would not come through my pelvic canal. At this point, my midwife's shift ended and she had to switch out with an actual doctor. And the doctor came in and she was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, we're just gonna try to get her out with the vacuum, and if she does not come out, then there's a chance we're gonna have to do an emergency C-section. And I was like, okay. So they had me push for maybe 5 minutes while doing the vacuum, and I just was not feeling good, and her heart rate was dipping really, really low. And at that point, the doctor was like, all right, that's it. We cannot play around anymore. We gotta hurry up and get you guys into a C-section. Literally like 7 nurses came in and they just like rushed me down the hall into this operating room. And it all happened so quickly that I just was like super overwhelmed. I really, really wanted that natural birth. Like I really did. I wanted that push. I wanted to push her out and then just pick her up and put her on my chest. Like I just really wanted that, but you know, it is what it is. So anyways, I get on the table. At this point, they wanted Michael to put on like a gown until he couldn't come in until then. But they had me drink this really nasty liquid that burned when I drank it. And then they had me put my arms out and they like strapped them down. And I was really nervous that I wasn't completely numb yet on my stomach. So I just kept saying like, please make sure I'm numb. Please make sure I'm numb. Like I'm really nervous. And I did start crying a little because I was feeling a little overwhelmed. It was just all so much. And they ended up putting something on my face. I was awake for the C-section, but it did make me feel a little like loopy, which I didn't really want to feel loopy, but that's what they did. And then I remember hearing her cry when they got her out, but I don't remember, like I know they were saying they did show me her face, but I don't remember that. Literally, I just remember waking up in the recovery room, like, 'cause I was just like, ooh. I remember being in the recovery room and asking where the baby was, and she was over in her little, like, bassinet, and then the nurse picked her up and gave her to me, and I just felt like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just such a weird experience, like, but you know, that's the thing with birth. It doesn't always go as planned, and labor didn't go as planned, and my birth didn't go as planned, so, you know, it is what it is. But, immediately after I had her, I got hit with really bad postpartum depression. And it is something that I have been dealing with since. It was really bad the first month, but then now that we're 2 months postpartum, it is better. I still have days where I definitely feel like kind of rough, but then there also are some days where I'm like, I'm good, like I feel 100% good to go. So it comes in waves right now, but I'm sure at some point it will go away. That's where we're at. And then poor baby girl has had a lot of complications. She wouldn't latch to my breast or the bottle or the binky, and so we had to get her lip tie surgery. She ended up being allergic to my breast milk, even cutting out dairy. She was having blood in her poop, so I have her on this expensive hypoallergenic formula. She also is colicky, and she has really bad acid reflux, so she's on medicine for that. So poor baby has definitely been through it, and she's definitely a FOMO baby. She does not really like to take naps. Like during the daytime, she really does not like to nap at all, so it's really hard sometimes to get stuff done, which is why I use this thing a lot. So yeah, it's definitely been a little challenging, but I am also very excited to be her mom, and I'm very excited just to watch her grow and to make all these memories with her and all that. And I'm trying to enjoy this phase because they're only this little once. So I'm trying, even though I'm looking forward to her getting bigger, I'm also trying to enjoy her being this tiny. She'll never be this tiny again. But I love her so much, and she's just like a little doll. Now I'm like, I don't know what I would do without her. So all the sleepless nights are worth it. Like, my body's used to working on 2 hours of sleep at this point. So, but yeah, I go back to work in 2 days. My maternity leave ends, so I am feeling a little emotional for that because I have been with her every day since she was born. But I feel like it'll be good for both of us. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try to vlog more because I really want to document her growing and stuff, and got a couple fun little getaways that we're gonna be doing. I'm taking her on a plane for the first time next month, so well, actually it's September 1st now, so this month. So a little nervous for how she's gonna act, but hoping, fingers crossed, if I got plenty of bottles, we'll be good. But anyways, stay tuned, and you guys have a good day.